June 28, 1996. We're flying at 400 feet. It's 1540 hours, and we're just at the north end of Îles de Havre, Maisons, north of the road that cuts across to the west shore. And the shoreline here is one of wide washover flats that are cut through the dune. You see some examples there. The actual channel itself is cut down right through the foredune, and the levee is on either side of the channel. They extend probably 600 meters inland. The seaward foredune is cut because of the blowouts, but so it's discontinuous. Has a scarp on it of about 5 to 7 meters. And the beach width itself is probably 200 meters, well no, 100 meters let's say, 50 to 100 meters. And in places, like just coming into view now, you're starting to see new vegetation growth in front of the foredune. And the beach is cuspate, more so now because the bar just offshore is also cuspate. And again, you're starting to see the horns starting to almost be connected by the offshore bar. We're looking across at Îles Time is 1541, and we're following Plage de la Dune du Sud, heading towards the end of the northeast end of the island. We'll just cut across to give you a profile view of the dune, and what you can see in the foreground are the waves breaking on the inner bar. There's sort of a transverse ridge with rips. You see the rips coming off between the transverse bars. Then you've got a well-developed berm on this beach, then the Aeolian sand ramp going up to the top of the foredune. There's a single ridge here, gradually sloping down into a darker vegetation, which is wetland. And then on the lagoon side, there's quite a substantial sand flat with sand waves, or sandbars as you might call them, running oblique to the shore, probably affected both by the tidal currents and the winds. And then coming back, looking north again, we get a good view of the backside of the dune. The streakiness of it is due to old washover channels that have cut through the dunes complex. And you've got quite a scarp on the foredune. The foredune's probably about 8 meters, maybe a bit more, with an Aeolian sand ramp. And then we're picking up the bars. And there's a bit of a diagonal, a transverse sediment plume going off from the beach, which may be where the rips are. The time is 1543, and we're just heading north along the east side of the Île de Madeleine. A beautiful day. As we approach the farther into Dune du Sud and closer to Grand Entrée, the dune complex gets a lot narrower. There are some old washover sand flat deposits that are vegetated in the backshore, but they become much more discontinuous, and there's places where the dune is very narrow. There was a series of inlets along here, I would guess, at one point. Just coming into view now is a very good example of a narrow section on the dune. No bus in there for scale. The sand flat on the lagoon side has several transverse sand waves on it, or sandbars. We're just low tide at 14:30, so we're just past low tide. And then as we head towards the main channel, it enters into Havre de la Grande Entrée. We see recurving ridges heading into the lagoon. There's another building for scale. The back of the dune is only moderately dense cover of barren grass, and then we're getting into more washover channels cut through the dune now. The beach itself is narrower, and there's now 2 bars just offshore. One just offshore that you're picking up on the video, and one approximately where we are. We're just crossing the area of an old inlet that has sealed itself off. There used to be several here since the 1760s. And then there's the main one that goes into Grande Entrée. We'll just cut across now at 1546 and circle around. You can see it's mostly sand flat with intermittent vegetation at the end of the dune. You'll pick up, as we look back, the old flood tile deposits. In fact, some of those other ones may not have even been washed over. They may have been old flood tile deposits that we were picking up. There's some flood deposits on this side of Grande Entrée, but most of them are on the other side. There's a good view looking down the shore of Dune du Sud. You can see how the vegetation peters out towards the end of it. As we swing around, you'll pick up the shoal on the seaward side of the inlet, and then pick up the old flood tidal deposits that are vegetated in the lagoon itself, and it's quite shallow all through these flood tidal deposits. And then as we cut across over to Grande Entrée, we'll pick up another one of the large marinas and wharves, and the main channels on that side of the inlet. Picking up, looks like a bit of bedrock or coarse material just at the entrance to the inlet. The time is 15:48. And we're at 500 feet, it's 80 knots. As we come into this area, there's a multiple dune ridge as we reach the rock headland. And there's sand flat, extensive sand flat extending off from the beach. It's a very low dune though, and it's built right up against the bedrock outcrops. There's pocket beaches in amongst the bedrock outcrops on this side of the Magdalene. And just heading towards geophysical. And Bassin de Huître, you see there's a sand accumulation and inlet going into it. And multiple dune ridges have been built across the seaward side of the of the basin, which is actually kept in place because of the bedrock outcrops along the shore. As you come to the other end of the bassin, we'll begin to pick up another beach ridge, sandy beach with a low foredune in the back shore. The time is 15:50. On this part of the beach, we've got a low foredune. Pretty well, there's a bit of multiple ridges, a lot of trails, a pretty wide, gently sloping sand beach with some blowouts, but actually probably caused by more vehicle tracks. And then it's all pretty well medium sand. And as we come up into the area of Old Harry and Bay Sea Cow, okay, we're just getting a view now looking along Plage de la Grande Coucherie, and you get a good view of the wide sand beach, then sort of a large foredune that extends along. It has a lot of cuts in it at this end, then a low area of wetland vegetation, and then a series of dune ridges farther landward, as well as beach ridge complex, which leads across over to Gros Îles. This bedrock outcrop of Old Harry is quite a substantial feature, which has particularly trapped a lot of sediment that's coming around the corner from Pointe de L Est, and the net sediment transport is into this area. The time at Old Harry is 15:52. We're just coming up to the end at 1754 of Plage de la Grande Coucherie, and you can see here it's a progradational feature. There's a new dune ridge that is on the seaward side. Landward of it is a low-lying area of wetland vegetation, and then another old foredune, which is much more broken, discontinuous in the back shore. And then old flood tile deposits from when this was built. Most of the sand for this area is coming around Pointe de L Est, and there's one large cuspate bar just offshore of this beach. The beach itself is very wide. It's cuspate with a low amplitude, small amplitude, just on the foreshore, and it looks like a bar has been welded on shore. We're just coming up to the Pointe de Est, where the sand transport is coming around from the west side of the island. You can see the recurve bridges. They're coming around the corner. And there's an extensive sand flat at the end. There you get a view looking down the east side, the east coast of the Madeleine Islands, Îles de la Madeleine, and a view towards a Grand Entrée. Just looking at Pointe de L Est now, the time is 15:56.